Okay, thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Bette McCarthy. I'm the chair of the Barnstable Old Kings Highway Historic District Commission, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. This meeting of the Old Kings Highway Historic District Committee is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable Government Access Channel. And in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, the chair must inquire if anyone else is recording this meeting. And if so, will they please make their presence known? Okay. All right. So to all persons deemed interested or affected by the Town of Barnstable Old Kings Highway Historic District Act under Section 9, Chapter 470, Acts of 1973, as amended, you're hereby notified that a hearing will be held tonight on the applications listed on the agenda for July 24th, 2024. We'd like to remind all applicants and audience members that we are an elected volunteer committee following the guidelines of the Town of Barnstable Old Kings Highway Historic District Act. And any applicant or interested party who's aggrieved by any of the decisions by this committee, they have a right to appeal the decision to the Old Kings Highway Regional Historic Commission. We ask that during this evening's proceedings, cell phones be turned off and conversations other than those before the committee take place outside of this remote meeting. When an applicant is called, we ask the applicant and all interested parties to identify themselves. And lastly, as best practices for meetings that are held remotely, where we may not be able to visually identify who's speaking, we ask all committee members and participants to identify themselves before making any motions or comments. Online audience members wishing to participate during the public comment section of the hearing can use the raised hand button to notify the chair. And dial-in audience members wishing to participate during the public comment section of the hearing should press *9 on their phones to identify the chair. All participants will be muted and you must be recognized by the chair in order to participate. So our first order of business is to take roll call attendance. So the first person is George Jessup. And as we mentioned, George happens to be ill with COVID again. So Leslie Wallace.
Here.
Ryan Caholen.
Here.
Wendy Shuck.
Here.
And Bette McCarthy. Here. All right. So our first application is this evening is a continued application. And we have already opened a public hearing for this application. It is for Sarah and Matt LeMay of 56 Red Wing Lane, Barnstable, map 318, parcel 007, undeveloped land, to construct a new colonial style home with a carriage house on a vacant lot. And we have already approved, let's see, we don't have a demolition of that. So it is just the new construction that we need to review. So would the applicant or their representatives like to discuss whatever changes or modifications you might have made to this application?
Josh, do you want me to just jump in here first? Hello, everybody. My name is Matt LeMay, and I am the applicant along with my wife, Sarah LeMay. Just wanted to briefly cover off on a couple things here since at this point, I think we're on our fourth call. We're getting to know everybody and wanted you to get to know us. So we have a couple slides just to share, number one, who we are. And then number two, that we've been listening, right? And some of the feedback we have for you, and then share some of the changes that we've made. So I'll start just by saying Sarah and I are not just some outsiders coming in to build an investment property. We want to build our retirement home there, and wanted to share with you some of those plans. But first, we are several generation Cape Codders. My mother, who I see is on the call here, has been in the Barnstable school system for over 45 years. Sarah is a graduate from Sandwich. I'm a graduate from Barnstable. Her mother's been working at Riverview. So you can obviously see that we've been around the Cape, and we really love the village. We've always had a dream of building there and being a part of that community. And I think that's important when you think about caring about, the historical value of that committee and what we're going to invest in it. The other point I'll make on this slide is that the lot is contingent on permitting, the contract I have with the landowner, and building approval. And our agreement with that landowner does expire this month. We have pushed back multiple times and they've agreed, but I think we're to the end of that. So you won't have 6 more of these calls with us. It'll either get approved and we'll be excited, or it won't. But I feel like we've made some good changes here. So I'll go on to the next one.
All right, may we have the changes that you've addressed?
Yeah, well, firstly, I'd like to just mention this because I think it's an important point. We have not discussed this. If you look at the current rock wall in the front, you will notice that it's completely overgrown. I don't know if anybody has driven past this recently, but our plan is to clean up that entire vegetation area, expose that historical stone wall. And you can imagine planting some indigenous trees behind that. Maybe they're big oaks. When you drive past it, I think it's going to draw a lot of the attention and the eye to the stone wall, which is the most historical part, no matter what we build, of that property. So we are consulting with a conservationalist on the landscaping side as well, and getting some indigenous ideas. The other thing, though, that I'll mention, and I'm not sure why these slides are not able to be moved, to be honest with you, is some of the things we've heard from you. So number one, the carriage house is too close to 6A. Josh has done a great job working with the land engineering folks to adjust the position of that carriage house. Just keep in mind, we do have the wetland buffer behind it, so we cannot go any further back. I'm just gonna, state that now, but I think we do have a better position of that. We've heard the house needs a more historical look. We've made additional changes. We've changed over 30 things on that, but even more than the last time, including 6/6 and some of the window changes and things that you've suggested. And the size of the home, I just feel like that's important to address, because I've heard now a couple times from the local folks that in the immediate area we're one of the bigger houses. We have reduced the square footage further, which Josh will show you. We've also completed on the next slide a comparison of the other homes that are in the immediate area. And you can see it doesn't get much closer than actual Red Wing Lane itself, which the average size home on that street is 3,500 square feet. And that's based on the town of Barnstable website. So we have 170 Red Wing that's almost 5,000 square feet. So all these average to a bigger home than what we have. And the next slide, you'll see there that there's one street over from us that's probably one of the more famous on all of 6A. It's an absolutely beautiful historical home, but about 3 times the size of ours. So I don't think the square footage was really being discussed under this purview anyway, but I just felt important to mention that our home is really not one of the larger ones there. It's pretty average when you look at it across 6A. If we go to the next slide, probably not as important to show, but I was trying to look at the local area, and including some of the old historic homes. We did pull in several features from some of those homes that we saw on 6A. And maybe we go to the next slide to show some of the examples we were looking at, the shingles that we've used, the window features that we've used. Again, 20 Aberley Way is a really new property off 6A. It's directly off 6A. And it's very similar to that. And as far as the look goes, 40 Aberley, you can see the big porch on the front is one house back from 6A. And again, I think both of these are pretty modern looking, right? Although they have historical features, very similar to the look that we're looking for. And ours may be even more historical with the colonial look that we've got. And one more slide here shows the latest home that we found right off 6A. Again, if you go one more, clearly not a home that looks like it was just plopped in from 100 years ago, right? It's a relatively modern, big home, much bigger than ours. But again, has historical features that I think, blended in nicely. So next slide and last slide, I'll share just kind of our statement here as we get to the end. We really want to make this as historical home and compromise as much as possible. At the same time, I think exposing that rock or the stone wall with indigenous trees behind it, again, will bring a lot of value to the area. But most importantly, we just want to be a part of the Barnstable Village and contribute and bring more to the village as we become members of that community. So hopefully we get all this done today, and I'll let Josh and James share with you the changes we've made since the last call.
Josh Blakely here. Most of you know me by now, but for those of you that don't know me, I'm from Barnstable Village. I grew up on Red Wing Lane. And it's something that's really important to me and James and Matt and Sarah is that we do honor the historic qualities of the area. Having grown up here, it's certainly going to be the goal here. Right now you're looking at the site plan, and as you can see, we did some work with Down Cape Engineering, and we were able to push the carriage house to the back, as I've highlighted it there for you to look at. So prior to that, we were forced to the front portion of the lot closer to 6A. On that, you can see our work limits, and you can see the highlighted stone wall, which is all meant to be preserved and highlighted in the project. As far as the design goes on the structure itself, we have a colonial revival home, which is common in the area in like probably late 1800s, early 1900s. We have a full width porch with symmetrical columns. One of the things that you'll see that's different about this from prior is, we included what the gutter detail would look like, but we also match the symmetry. One of the guidelines that is in the early classic revival homes of this area is the symmetry. So we nailed down the symmetry as far as the window placement, all the spaces between the windows, the window sizes, etc. So we dealt with that as a priority. The trim details are also highlighted in the plans, so you can see, what we're using for materials and, how we plan on addressing the trim. But flying rakes, cornice returns, and the addition of a water table or a mud sill water table, which we noticed that, basically almost, a huge percentage, like 90% of the homes in the area have a water table, and I thought that would add a nice detail to the structure. But basically what we really did was we hammered out the symmetry, and in the colonial revival style, you can see that there's the wings that are added. So you can get the feel for a house that had been expanded over the years, which was typical. You know, over time, that's how these houses grew. So we're trying to honor that and represent that in the process. So you know, that's basically the change. I think you've been through everything. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any. And you know, certainly would like to respectfully get your approval on this design. And we're eager for that, but we're also open to any possible suggestions. The
Josh,
full
can
width,
you just
yeah, go ahead.
show them now what side of the carriage house would be facing 6A? Because I think that also came up last
Yeah,
time.
good. Yep. I want to
So,
know.
so now the carriage house is sitting parallel to the actual main structure. So with the view you're looking at right now is the west view. So there would be some of that view of the garage from the from 6A, but it's the next view, the south turn south. Is that the south one there? Yes. So that's actually parallel with Route 6A, Old Kings Highway there. That picture is not updated with the 6/6s, unfortunately. So the carriage house hasn't seen as much revision, but it's meant to replicate the main house. So whatever we do with the main house is going to be replicated in the carriage house. So the 6/6s there as well. But as we pointed out last time, we stepped in the dormers, dropped the dormer roof height to below the ridge, and stepped in the cheek walls, the runs on the side. So to give it more of a feel of it was added later, you know, to the structure. So yeah, I'm ready for some feedback if you have any.
Erica, can you go back to the plot plan for a minute? I'm looking specifically at the new location of the carriage house. So then, as we look at this picture, Josh, then the cars would go in to that left-hand side?
Yeah, so coming off of Red Wing Lane, in both of those garages, you're coming in perpendicular off of Red Wing. So you take you pull on Red Wing and you take a right into the driveway and you're facing the garages of both structures.
Okay, and then to get into, like to drive a car into that carriage house, looks like the driveway goes in the front on the west facing side, so wouldn't that
Yeah.
be where the doors are?
Yeah.
Not, yeah,
Yes.
okay,
So yeah, that's what I was trying to
okay,
explain. So there is on the elevations, it's marked south and west where you'd see, in my opinion, you would see some of that garage door from the west view, but it would, you know, it's not a straight on view from 6A.
okay, gotcha, okay.
Josh, where do you land as far as overall square
All right,
footage?
excuse
main
me,
house.
Wendy, do you have any other
Sorry.
comments right now?
I do actually, do you want me to finish? Yeah? Do you want me to keep going?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so I think it's clear that you guys listened, like I think you've made a lot of changes. I do think that the house absolutely has more of a historical feel. I think, you know, changing the windows was a huge improvement. You know, the 6/6, the placement, you know, kind of spacing them evenly. I think that had a, you know, a huge positive effect on the look of the house and allows it to blend in better, you know, with the historical homes in the neighborhood. I think the front door, in my opinion, should probably change. You know, I think back in the day, I don't think there was actually glass in the doors. I think they're typically side lights and maybe a transom. And that's probably more of a modern looking door. I did want to comment about the size, but Josh, what is the new square footage? How much has that been?
Well, primarily we reduced the size of the carriage house and
Oh.
we were able to shave off about 474 square feet off the main house, so we're at 3,000 square feet.
Okay. All right. You know, I think, you know, from my perspective, many of the colonials down 6A, the extensions that they have go off the back, they're not off the front, you know, and I think because it's on the front, it makes the house from the front look large. I understand you're somewhat challenged because of the shape of the lot, but I think that's kind of adding to the, you know, the sense that it's looks big. And also the carriage house, I think, you know, we had commented last time that it would be great to make that look more like a barn. You know, I don't, you know, I think changes to the carriage house would probably be needed, because it actually sort of looks more like a garage to me. You know, with the dormers, I don't know. I think I would like to see that have more of a barn feel. So while I think that many improvements have been made, in my view, I think the design of the house to me still looks like a very nice, very nice house, but that you might see in a more current development, you know, and not 6A. And I appreciate your comments about, you know, the sizes of homes in other areas down the 6A area. You know, Red Wing, I think one of the things we need to point out is Route 6A is designated as a scenic highway. Red Wing is not, and the houses on Red Wing can't be seen from Route 6A, which is a scenic highway. So, you know, we have to be, you know, particularly diligent when we're looking at the homes on 6A. That big white house, I think that's condominiums now, isn't it? I don't
Yeah.
think that's a private
it is.
residence. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a condominium. So, and then that other house, the shingled one, I believe that is an older home actually that had some recent renovations to it. It used to be all wooded in the front. You never really could see that house very well from the road, but they have recently chosen to take out a lot of that vegetation and replant it. So yeah, so those are my comments.
Okay, thanks, Wendy. Ryan, you were ready to speak, so
No,
would you like
I got
comment?
the answer to my question about square footage. Look, I, having been part of the first meeting, reviewed the previous meeting and listening to and seeing these set of plans. I think the move of the carriage house makes a big difference as far as my opinion. I think the location fits a lot better. As far as the buffer between the main house and 6A, you talked a lot about clearing things out, exposing that wall. But I mean, based on the growth there right now, granted, it's July, almost August, in the middle of summer, and it's sort of a big overgrown mess. What's the thought as far as what's going to remain in that just about 35 feet or so of buffer?
Matt and Sarah are consulting with a conservationist about that. Basically, you know, protecting the wall is very important, and they were speaking about, you know, working with indigenous plantings, right? So anything that would get planted would be, you know, stuff that would be found in the area. It certainly needs to have vegetation. It's not going to be just wide open. There'll be trees planted. There'll be but basically restoring the wall and keeping the wall intact is kind of what Matt was trying to highlight there, because the thing, even in the winter, I mean, it's in rough shape. There's been a lot of growth in it, you know, so that was just the point he was trying to make with that.
And you know, it's tough to make anything new look old, right? If you look close enough, you can find new. I think you've done a remarkable job of hearing the feedback, making adjustments, compromising where you can, and in some cases, probably where you didn't want to, but you did. I don't think I have any other comments at this time.
I'd like to just address that, you know, we'll wait for, I guess, everyone's comments, but, you know, we've we've definitely played around with the idea of the front entry, changing that to like a 4 or 6 panel wood door with transom or side lights to it. And it's something that we're not completely against doing, actually plucked that door from the Magic House over by Kevany Lane on our first meeting, the Reef House that was built there that was kind of like an Ahern design that everybody really loved and said, hey, that looks like a house that was 200 years old. And so I actually plucked that door from that house, and that's how we kind of ended and landed on that door. Other than the fact that we like it, and I understand the illustration isn't the best way to look at a wood door like that, but I just wanted to point that out just so that you knew that we have that in mind for sure.
Okay, Brian, does that conclude your remarks?
That concludes my remarks.
Okay, thanks. Leslie,
I appreciate all the work you've done. And you have done a lot to make us happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Much better. I think bringing the roof down is a big improvement as far as the look of size. So thank you for that. I've been thinking about your house for 2 weeks. And I started out thinking, I don't like that porch, the old rendition, because it reminded me of something in Kansas, like a prairie front porch, not a Cape Cod front porch. This one is more historic looking. I see Wendy's point with the door. I can see it, but the windows, vast improvement. You showed a picture of oh, what is that street? Albeline or something like
Aberline.
that. It's right. Yes. And I think it was 70. That has a porch. Similar. Yes. That. I wish you could go a little bit more towards that look. I don't know if you can. That to me looks more historic. And I think that would be you won't have the upper part dormer and all, but you can see where the roof is and their porch. I don't know if you can incorporate a little bit of that, because I actually went by this house and I thought of your house with the porch. Isn't that funny? And I thought, oh, that would be real nice on your. I don't know if you can incorporate kind of the look. It's very similar, but the other looks very historic. I think it would look nice. Let's see, the carriage house. Okay. Bravo for the new location. That's going to look good. You wouldn't want to put another one of the garage doors, take out the 2 windows and put another garage door on the other side with the door in the middle. I think that might make it look more carriage house looking. Just an idea. And that you won't see from the road, right? It's kind of sideways.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Josh.
if you got it more carriage house looking, that would be nice to see from the road. I think I prefer it to the one that, you want to put in now, but I'd have to see. It's hard to envision. Where's the side that's going to be seen by 6A? Can you do that again? Is it that one?
Yeah.
The 3 windows, the 1 window above?
Correct.
Oh, it's that one, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that open space. I don't know. Can you put a window in there? I just think it looks off. Now that's what you'll see from 6A, right?
Correct.
Okay. You can't put
I think,
another window where the, yeah, what were we
I
gonna
think,
say? I'm sorry.
yeah, I was gonna say, I think we can put another window there, if I'm not wrong, Josh, and we're fine with that.
Yeah, I think that like blank space kind of freaked me out. Yes, and that's what you'd see on 6A, and you'd have some bushes and all landscaping.
Correct.
Okay. A window might be nice, and it's gonna be 6/6 with that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Gee, you've done so much work, honest to God, you really have, wonderful. Can you think about what I've said as far as the front porch? It won't be a big deal, I don't think, but I think it'll make it more Cape Codish historic looking.
Leslie, can I ask, is it the way that the columns have like capitals trimmed about them, you know, or is it the like the portico gable on the front of the porch? Is there something
Yeah,
specific about it?
yeah, see that one? I wish can you move it over more? Because, yeah, move it over to the left. Because I'm not getting the full, yeah. I don't know if it's bigger pillars.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
the raised panel pillars, right? The columns,
Yeah,
right? And they have like a trim detail on them so that you can see where the soffit
yes,
is, right?
yes.
I mean, we could definitely build out
Now,
the pillars. column.
you've got the arches between the columns. And I think you did it to make it look more historic. But I'm looking at this, and this looks good to me, this house. So God, I've thought about this for 2 weeks. Because it looks the
See-
same, except for the upper part is not the same, but the overhang and the porch. I'm trying to think exactly what is different about it.
Well, they have the
I
front
just
gables.
think
They have the
this
front
looks,
gables throughout on the Aberley house there. You know, there's all the front facing gables, which, you know, is
Yeah.
we only have the one on the garage.
well, I'm wondering if you took that, the, I don't know what you call them, between the pillars out, made the fancy with all the detail columns. Maybe that would make it look more historic. It's something about the porch. I've thought about this for 2 weeks. That,
Yeah, I think that, you know, in the classic the colonial revival style, that's why, you know, it's not, you don't see a lot of full width front porches on colonials, but they are, you know, there is a precedent for them
yeah,
in the revival style. And so basically, as far as that arch detail, we could lower that trim detail down, square it off, and basically you know, add some embellishments to the post columns as far as, you know, ornamentation at the top with a capital base boot on it, you know, and
yeah.
that could fill that out a
I
little.
think that would help. I really do. Because I like the look of the other one, and that's the thing that stands out to me the most as the difference is the intricate work with the pillars. How big are these pillars?
They're 10-inch
10-inch.
or 11, and they're basically 11 and a quarter. They're almost 12 inches.
Okay, all right. Well, that's pretty big. I don't know. I think you've done a marvelous job trying to accommodate.
Well, I appreciate that.
There's just something about that porch that is throwing me off. That's what it, and I've thought about this for 2 weeks. And when I saw that picture of the Abilene with a porch, I thought, now I want something more like that.
It also
Um,
serves a purpose for functionality as well. It's a south-facing exposure, so that's one of the reasons why the porch is there, to protect the doorway and to,
Yep,
shelter
yep,
some light
yep,
and south
yep.
exposure,
Yep,
So-
yep, yep. Um,
Okay, Leslie,
Yeah.
is,
that's it. I know I've thought about this for so long. Okay, I've had my say.
okay. Thank you. All right, this is Bette McCarthy. I see you've really tried to make a lot of, changes. There've been little incremental kind of changes, in my estimation. I still feel the overall look is, doesn't hit it. It doesn't hit. When I look at this drawing, I don't feel this is historic. And that's what we really need for a home that's facing 6A. You showed some of those homes on Aberley. They have a lot more pointed triangular shapes, and it breaks up the front a lot more. There's a house on Hyannis Road that has a porch on the front. It's just before you get to Moshop. It has a front porch, but it breaks up that flat roof line in the front there. I like the suggestion Leslie made about the porch on Aberley too. And then as far as the carriage house, to me, it looks like a garage. It does not appear to be a carriage house in any way. And it doesn't have a barn-like look, so that it blends in with the historic neighborhood. I'm sure you guys are very frustrated. You keep going back to the drawing board, but we have a responsibility too, to our community, to make sure that the homes are fitting and they blend into the area. So it's very difficult to go along with this as it appears at the moment.
Hey, Bette, can I ask you a question? 'Cause
Sure.
I think we feel the same way about the front plane of the house. It seems large. Do you think if the two additions were set back more, it would help? Because they're not set back that far, do you know? And it would
Right.
make the main part of the house kind of come at you a
Break
little
it
bit
up.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Break it up. Yeah.
Right.
I
Or
don't know how much
if
room they have with the wetland and stuff.
you
Yeah.
have the pointed roof on the garage, perhaps if there was another triangular shape on the right side, that would, but again, what we're doing, we can't design this house.
For
That's
you,
not our
yeah.
responsibility.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question regarding the carriage house? And I'll ask the other committee members this. If that had a cupola on it, something a little more in line with, I think a lot of designs that we see for this area, would that change your idea on top of the additional window that we've talked about? Would that ease your concerns a bit?
So for me,
So-
for this side, I would like to see the dormer gone. Two windows on the main floor and probably a different door, those kind of doors that you see on barns, those solid doors. I forget what you call them. Kind of with the more the board and batten, you know what I mean? The solid ones. Yeah, I think that might make it look more like a barn. And then you could have the dormer on the other side because that wouldn't really be facing 6A. And then that end with the garage doors, I think probably some changes there as well. Cause that just looks like I agree, it looks like a garage to me. Doesn't look carriage house, maybe one door in the middle, or two door, I don't know. Again, I can't, design it.
What if they put another, like, for a better term, garage, yeah, that, took the 2 windows out and put another one of those? That I've seen more of a carriage house look.
Yeah, and I think that regular door probably needs to change too.
Yeah.
Right.
But
All right. Do we have any members of the public wishing to make comments?
This is Erica Brown. It looks like Carrie Woods would like to make a comment. Carrie, if you'd like to unmute yourself. Carrie, you need to unmute yourself.
Yeah,
There we go.
how's that? Am I unmuted now?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. So my name's Carrie Woods. My husband and I own the Barnstable house on 6A. And I will say firstly that I just want to thank you all because I know you're volunteers and I volunteer on a bunch of committees and I know how hard this work is. So thank you for your time and your efforts. I don't know Matt and his family. I met them for the first time last weekend when he was in my parking lot taking pictures of our building, which was a little disconcerting. But my husband went out and talked to him. And the only reason I'm really on this meeting tonight is because my husband and I had a very long talk with Matt about what he and his family are trying to accomplish there on that lot. And in addition to owning the Barnstable house, my husband and I live in Barnstable off of 6A. So we've been members of this community for over 20 years. And we are very committed to historic preservation on Old Kings Highway and just in general, the whole historic area of Barnstable on this north side. I felt very impressed by Matt and his family's commitment to preserving Old Kings Highway and the historic feel that we have here. I haven't been following these meetings. I haven't been following the plans. Really, he did show me the plans when we met on Saturday, but I just feel that they are a family who is committed to doing the right thing by Old Kings Highway. And I just hope that doesn't get lost on the committee. Because I do think they're under the gun here time-wise. And if they lose this lot, we may not get a family who's as committed. So I'm really here just to speak on a character level from a family that I just met, but just really felt strongly that they were committed to preserving Old Kings Highway and the historic feel that we have here. So that's really all I wanted to say. And again, thank you for all of your time because this is not an easy job you guys have. It's not an easy job.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, thank you for that comment. And we're sure that the LeMays are very committed, but at the same time, we have a responsibility to make sure the design is accurate. It's not the person, it's
Of
their
course.
building that we have to address. So, and it will.
I do think they would make listen, I don't want to speak for the LeMays, but just in our brief conversation, I do feel like they would make the changes necessary. Whatever those are, but I think they're in a difficult position with the timing.
Okay,
And
well, thank you.
The lot's
Thank you
not
very much
easy.
for your comments.
Thank you. Thank you.
So-
Thank you.
Okay. Erica, is there anybody else wishing to make comments
Yes,
from
it looks
the
like,
public?
yes, it looks like Matt Chase would like to make a comment. Matt, if you want to unmute yourself.
Hello, committee. My name is Matt Chase. I'm actually the owner of the property. Currently, I also own 61 Red Wing as well as 3534 Main Street, which is off of Red Wing. which is the front lot across from the potential buyers, Matt LeMay and Sarah. I'm just here to kind of say, you know, we have extended it multiple times, the sale. I've been approached multiple times by developers to build on this lot. You know, when we went through the process of accepting Matt's offer, you know, my brother and I, as well as my cousin who owned the lots with us, put a lot of thought into who we were going to sell this lot to. Because my family, my grandfather owned this lot. My great grandfather owned the lot before him. It was passed down throughout the family. You know, we understand the historical, you know, issues with the Cape and 6A. And, you know, I think Matt's team, I've never met Matt or Sarah. This is kind of the first time I've actually seen them. So I've dealt with their agent, Tori. You know, I think, you know, they put a lot of time and effort, and I'm not sure that a developer, if I go that route, so if this deal falls apart, that will put this much time and effort into this lot. So I just want to add those comments. I don't, you know, Matt's time, effort, you know, and his team, Josh, you know, to get this, you know, this, I think his third meeting, this is, you know, so I think we signed the deal back in April. And have extended. So I don't know where we stand as the committee goes, but you know, it's getting to a point, you know, it's, you know, we're just at this point and it's getting a little frustrating. So I am, you know, I don't know that the developer would put that much time and effort into a project like this that Matt and his team has. So thank you.
All right, thanks. Erica, is there anything, anyone else?
Yes, it looks like Leslie Marsh would like to make a comment. Leslie, if you'd like to unmute.
Thanks, Erica. Hi, everyone. This is Wellesley Marsh. I just, before I have a few observations, can I ask a couple of questions regarding the new plan? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you can go ahead and ask some questions, Leslie, if you like.
Thank you. So just as a brief intro, when this property went before the Board of Health for a variance, the proposed house was for a 4-bedroom with no carriage house. So I don't know if that matters, but that was what was approved for the variance. So with that said, on the application and thus far up to this point, we still have not seen square footage written anywhere. I'm still unclear about what the square footage is to the house and the carriage house because it's not written anywhere. Can we just kind of know what it is?
It's 900 square feet for the carriage house and 3,000 square feet for the main house.
Okay, thank you. And so just quickly going back to the carriage house, the work limit line on the plans that were submitted for the variance and your first set of plans for the Old Kings Highway both show the work limit line coming down. And now that the carriage house has been moved back, that work limit line has suddenly gone all the way up. Is that something that you can change, or is that something that would have to go through conservation because of the wetland?
That's through conservation. We're working directly with Down Cape Engineering, and they are fully equipped to, we discussed that with them and what the possibilities are, so basically if you were to bring that up, you could look at sort of the distance from wetlands, setbacks from the boundaries and so forth, and it's all on there. So yeah, that was determined to be a possibility through the engineers.
And through you, Chair, if I can just ask one more thing about that. So does that mean that the plan as proposed would not be allowed as is right now for conservation?
Excuse me?
So as, through you, Chair, as the revised plan is submitted tonight, as is, that means where the carriage house is proposed is currently in the no work limit area, beyond the work limit area.
No, it's inside the work limit area.
Okay, okay, that was just a bit confusing because the work limit line had gone down well below that line and now it's suddenly well above that line. So that was a bit confusing. Okay, thank you. How, the height of the house is just, we couldn't find that anywhere on the plan. Is there like a total height that we know how high the house is gonna be?
Yeah, James, go ahead.
It's 29 feet.
29 feet, okay. And on the revised plan, I believe it was Leslie who may have asked about the carriage house. As the cars pull in, that side doesn't show a paved driveway. Would you change that so that it is paved? Or, because and again, this is through you, Chair, respectfully. I guess I'm trying to say that there are so many changes going on, but they're not being represented like on the plan, like the 6/6 on the carriage house. The septic system is completely gone from the plan now. The rock wall on the right-hand side is gone. We're just not seeing things that have been there before, and now they're just sort of not there. So it's just kind of confusing us a little bit as far as the proximity and where things are going to be. And then the introduction of a walkway in front of the house now, that was not on any of the other plans, so we don't know what that walkway, what the material is, how big it is, what it's going to look like, just based on what the little drawing is now. Because on the first plan, it was penciled in that all the vegetation would be untouched. And now with the new plan, it sounds like it's all going to go away, and then there's going to be a whole new walkway, and it looks like there might be a fence, a split fence. It's just, there are a lot of more questions being raised with the new plan that have bubbled up. But you know, the windows look great, great changes. But I guess I'll end in saying, you know, what I've said for the past couple meetings, the overall design is just not indicative of the historic nature of the area, as well as the size. I know the mention was made of Red Wing Lane. There were two houses that were left out of the average square footage, and those are actually two of the smaller houses on Red Wing Lane. So the overall square footage average was 2,700 square feet. So again, the size of the house and the overall design still really sticks out when you compare it with houses along this stretch of 6A. And those are the observations, and thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
Okay, thank you. Erica, is there anybody else wishing to speak from the public?
Yes, Mary McKenzie would like to make a comment. Mary, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Hi, it's Mary McKenzie. I just had a couple of quick questions. I noticed the changes on the plan, so thanks for some of the revisions. I have questions on the side of the house that's facing me, the east elevation. So before you didn't have windows, and now you have 3. And the one in the top is large. It's almost full size. So are you looking for, is there gonna be living space up there, or is it? That just looked really odd to me to have a ginormous window on the 3rd floor, or the same size window that's on the 2nd floor. So I just wanted to ask about that, and it seemed taller and narrower, so I don't know if that's just the picture. I think it makes that elevation of this house look even taller. And that's another question. What's the maximum? Does anybody know the maximum height in Barnstable for a house?
30 feet.
30 feet. Okay. The other question I have was, what is the pitch? Is the pitch of the main house the same as the wings, garage, and carriage house? Or are they all different pitches? And I apologize, I'm not great at reading plans, or I don't know if it was mentioned, but I'm just trying to figure out what it is.
So hi, I'm James Stokes. I'm actually the lead designer on the project for Structural Solutions. So the main house and the two wings that you see the eave lines from the street are all 7 pitches. And then the attached garage structure is a 10 pitch.
Okay, thank you. The one other thing I have is, your note saying that you're gonna clear to stone wall and then plant indigenous, plants. And there's no landscape plan. And I think I'm really concerned about, what's gonna be taken away to get replaced by what we don't know. And that's really important to me, is, the greenscape too. So I don't know if that has to be supplied or, with the Old Kings Highway, but I don't see anything, showing it. So that's a couple of things that I just had concerns with, but the windows look great. And, I'm just trying to give you my point of view from my side of the road. All right, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
All right.
Beth, did we get an answer to her question about that one window? Is that actually a bigger window up on the 3rd floor? I don't know if the designer can. or
Could we see
Josh.
that side view again?
Yeah, I want
Erica?
to.
So the window is the same height. I'm not sure why it didn't come out the same width, I'll be honest with you. I didn't catch that when I resent them. The design was for it to be the same width.
Okay.
And that is also unfinished space. There's no living up there. It was just something to help eat up the space on the side of the gable. We had
So
played
that's
around.
the same size as the rest of them.
The intent was it to be the same size as the
Yeah,
windows
okay.
left and right on the main body.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we had played around with ideas such as barn doors and
Pass the
everything.
shit.
And the window would just kind of look the best out of louver vents and doors, and so that's how we ended up with that. But the intent was it to be the same size as the other
Yeah.
windows that you see on the gable.
Okay, committee.
I will say one thing I do like. The onion lanterns. I love them.
Thanks.
Okay,
If I can add just one additional comment. I've heard a lot of comment from the committee and from the public about, how it relates to the structures, the main house, the carriage house, where things fit, that wing that kind of sticks off that, we've talked about, would traditionally go behind the house. And, to that point, traditionally, turn of the century when that would have happened, I think that some of the wetland regulation didn't exist, and it probably would have been a lot easier to do that. I think you have a unique piece of land that, let's be honest, whether it was residential or, commercial developer, whoever ended up with that piece of property, they're gonna do something with it. Just given the location and what it is. So, I would just like to, for the record, state that we're dealing with like almost a mission impossible here, unless you're gonna build a 900 square foot cottage. And, based on the applicant's presentation, I don't know if that suits the needs. I think that there is some truth to what we know sometimes is better than what we don't know. I will echo the comments that Leslie made about the porch and the column detail. I think that column detail breaks up the front significantly. So if this was to move forward, I would definitely ask that that be recorded as part of the certificate of appropriateness, that work did have to occur. But I just wanted to make those comments for the record. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Ryan. Committee, do you feel that the applicant needs to make some other changes before we vote?
For me, I'd like to see other changes. And there were several that we talked about, you know, approving something with a long list of changes, I don't think is probably the right way to go. That's just my thought.
Okay. As far as I'm concerned, I would like them to come back again and to make some of the adjustments that we've discussed this evening. Leslie, are you in agreement with that?
Well, yeah, I feel so bad. I know they're under a time restraint, but we have to do our job. That to me is what I'm
Correct.
here for. So they're almost there, almost there. I think a few tweaks here, a tweak there, it'll come to fruition. I hate it with this time restraint, but I think we need more time. And I think now we've given good suggestions. And I think a nice blueprint that they can go by. And I don't think it's massive. I mean, the height of the roof, to me, is a big deal. These are more cosmetic things, so I don't think it's such a big deal, but I think it'll add to the charm and the historic and the capey feel, and I think then we'll all be happy.
Okay.
So I
All
hate
right.
to say it, but I'd
So,
like them to come
Leslie?
back. Yeah.
Okay. You'd like them to come back. I personally would like them to come back. I believe Wendy also feels that way. So I know the builder designer, the owner must be very frustrated. But again, we have a responsibility as well, and that we must stay true to our responsibility. Ryan, is that okay with you to agree to have them come back?
That is okay with me, provided it's okay with the applicant.
Okay, all right. So, Erica?
Yeah.
Should we
So this-
make a
this would be
proposal
a
to the,
point of order to give the applicant, the LeMays and Josh Blakely, to agree to an extension. If they would not like to agree, you would have to vote on the item as it is tonight.
Yeah,
okay,
my response to this is disappointed. I'm sorry to hear that, this is where we ended up. We did try to make this work. We don't have the choice of saying that we can extend it because contractually this is not our lot and our time is out. So I do wish the best for the committee. I wish the best for the village. I think I would love to see a beautiful home on this lot, as many of you would. But we're not to the point where we can say we can extend. Obviously, the landowner's here, so he can make a comment if he wants, but that's my comment.
I do have to discuss with my brother and my cousin who own the property as well. Like I said, we have been approached by multiple developers in the area from the Cape who have interest in the land and putting some maybe multifamily houses there or whatever they want to do. So I will consult with my brother, my cousin. I can't commit to an extension at this point.
Oh, it's just 2 weeks, please.
Unfortunately, Leslie, it is not 2 weeks. It is actually 3 weeks. The next meeting is
Oh.
not until August 14th.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, given that, again, I will throw this back into the LeMays if they would like to wait on a decision from the owner. You can request the extension, and if it falls through, you can always withdraw the application.
I mean, if that's what we can do and, you know, we just need to hear from him, then that's fine. I don't know if I have the authority to say that, but if you're saying I do, then we can do that.
Yeah, no, you can always withdraw an application at any point during this process. So if you would like the chance to talk with the lot owner and potentially extend that contract, obviously that's out of our hands, then we can go ahead and move for an extension. And if that falls through, you can request a withdrawal of the application.
Okay, well, it doesn't hurt to do that then. If you could do that, and then we'll wait to hear from the landowner. Thanks.
Okay. Wendy, if you'd like to make a motion to continue this item to the next meeting, which is August 14th.
Yep, sure thing. This is Wendy Shuck, and I move to continue the certificate of appropriateness application for Matt and Sarah LeMay, 56 Red Wing Lane, Barnstable, map 318, parcel 007, undeveloped land, to the meeting to be held on August 14th, 2024.
I think Ryan had a comment.
I did, but
Sorry.
I'm good. I answered my own question.
Okay.
This is Ryan Cahola, and I'll second that motion.
All right, thank you. And a roll call vote. Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
Ryan Cahola,
Aye.
Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
and Bette McCarthy, aye. Okay. So we will now address our next application, and that is for Margaret and Frank Andreakis, 50 First Way, Barnstable, map 301, parcel 046, built in 1975, to build a new 3 feet by 64 feet long by 30 feet high home. Is the applicant or their representative available to discuss the changes that they have made?
I am. Good evening. It's Mike Rockwell with the House Company. I'm here representing the owners, Frank and Peggy Andriaskis, who are in attendance as well. After our meeting a few weeks ago, we took what you said to heart and did what we could here to try to make try to get this building a little bit more less cluttered, a little bit more symmetry going on with it. To run through the changes, probably one of the large ones is we pulled the garage. The garage used to be back up flush with the front porch. So we pulled that way to the back and reduced its height as well by making it a smaller structure in general. Kept the roof pitch the same. But yeah, pulled that back just so we didn't have as much of a street presence on that side. We took the space that we needed. Actually, the back of that garage was part of a master bedroom suite. And so to make up that space, we did a bit of an L in the back and put the master bedroom suite out the back there. You can see it on that left-hand lower drawing there, which wasn't a bad thing. The back of the building was a little bit plain prior to this, so it added a gable to the rear, which I think helped the rear elevation as well. In the front, again, changes. Before we had, excuse me, I'll continue. We had a triple glass door on the left side of the front porch.
Yeah.
We've gotten rid of that. And we did go ahead and center a traditional 4-panel or 6-panel 2-light entry door now in the center of the building. The other things we did with the windows too is we tried to keep all the floors symmetrical now. So now the first floor has 3 gang lights on either side of the door and in the dining room wing on the left there. And then when we go up a floor, before we used to have a triple window on the left, and then I think there was a single in the middle and a double on the right. We got rid of all that. So we have, we have a double on the left and a double on the right now, with the single centered over the top of the doorway. And then up in the attic, where we have the dormer and the cutout, again, we strove for symmetry there, and we put a double window in the dormer. That was there prior. And then on the left side, we've got a double window up there as well. Also in the front, in the attic there, we had that deck out there that, there showed a lot of rail, and I think, yeah, it definitely tilted the building to the left a bit. So we got rid of that rail entirely. So we're showing more roof now. There's going to be, it doesn't show on the drawing, and I apologize for that, but there will be a short rail up there, probably about a foot tall across the front of that, just so that it doesn't look quite as much like a hole in the roof, a little bit more like it was a thought out process. If you think as you're driving into the harbor area, on the right-hand side, as you're going past the parking lot, there's a structure there that has a very similar rail detail. So we can do that there. Got rid of the front sliders, move the attic deck. Those are the bulk of the changes, really. Again, what we're striving for is, what we're shooting for was to get the front more symmetrical, a little less cluttered, get some of the weight off the front facade. And, I think, probably the biggest impact on that was pulling that garage back. It really seemed to reduce the, reduce the street presence there. Those were the major changes. Oh, I know, of course, all the windows we changed over to 6/6 as well. They were 6/1 before, so we changed all those to 6/6 as well.
Okay.
That is the bulk of the changes. Happy to answer questions.
Okay, very good. Wendy, would you like to comment on the changes that were made to First Way, 51st Way?
Sure. Really, really pleased with the changes. I think, again, shows that you've listened. I think the style of the house is much more in keeping with some of the other homes in the area. The symmetry, I think, is good. The third floor, I'm a little, I don't know, with an inset and then a dormer, it kind of loses the symmetry there. But other than that, I think it's very, very nice changes that will, again, really blend in well with the neighborhood, and the style of the house, I think, will be fitting with what's in the surrounding area. My one other concern was just the size of the house. Like, I think the footprint is being increased by like about 60%. Is that right? I mean,
yeah, I think the footprint was, I want to say, right around 1,200, and we are once we add the deck, add the front porch and the back porch, I think we're at about 2,700.
Yeah.
So square foot on the ground.
Yeah, and I looked at some of the other houses in the area, and I think there's one currently that's about the same size. So, I can't say it's way out of whack with everything else that's there, because I believe there is one that's pretty close to that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just the third floor. I'd like to hear from the other committee members what they say. But overall, thank you very much for listening, and I think you've done a great job with the revisions.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Wendy. Leslie, would you like to comment on the changes made to this property?
Yes, I love the garage pushback. It kind of breaks everything up. Wonderful idea, perfect location. I too do not like the third floor. I don't know if I'd like 2 dormers or two of the little smidgy things. But I think it looks so kind of eclectic up there, that there's something about that that's throwing me off. Other than that, it looks great. I love the garage. I think that was a good move. But I don't know if I'd like to see two dormers or the little schmoozhy things.
Keep using those technical
know.
terms, Leslie.
I like the schmoozhy things better. Everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Yes, we
Right.
do.
That's throwing me off. I'm trying to envision it with either two of the schmoozies or two of the dormers. I don't know which would be better. I'll wait for Ryan and Beth.
Okay. Thanks, Leslie. Ryan, what are your
I mean,
comments?
but based on what I reviewed, I think that the scaling down of the overall structure is, I think it's creative with what you've done with that third floor. Definitely recognize the pushback of the garage, which is great. And, I think as this is presented, right, there are a lot of newer structures in that neighborhood that that have some quirks. And I think the smushy things are the quirk for this particular structure. When I first reviewed the meeting minutes from the last meeting, it was just this towering 30-foot tall structure on a relatively small plot. And whatever voodoo has happened with the third floor, I certainly applaud the creativity. And like I said, when I look at some of the newer structures in that neighborhood, they all have their quirks. I think that we have another structure here that sort of fits in with that genre. But I certainly applaud what you've done.
Okay. Thanks, Ryan. For my comments, I think the changes are very well done. Taking all those sliders out, centering things, making the windows more balanced, moving the garage back, really makes this home blend much better into the neighborhood. It doesn't look like a New Jersey beach house anymore. So, and I like Wendy's comments about the third floor. That's a little off balance in my estimation. I don't know if there's a better way to address that. Could to the designer builder come back on to talk about that, please?
Yeah, I mean, I would obviously need to run it by the owner. And again, you're all aware why that's there. That's the water side. So if we have a chance of getting them out up high, up there, who wouldn't want to take advantage of that? I put another
To
window
make them
swap on
both
there
the
like I did
same?
it there. Pardon me?
Yeah, to make the window on the right, that dormer, make it the same as the one on the left.
That has potential as well. Yeah. Again, I'd need to run it by my owner. But yeah, we could conceivably do a cutout there as well.
I would prefer that. I don't know about other committee members.
We
When
we could do two squishy things.
Two squishy things.
We all know what we're talking about.
Yes.
I think
to
that's
make them both the
reasonable.
same. Yeah. Would that be agreeable
But then
to
what
you?
about the view? You don't think you'd like a dormer better with the view aspect?
But I think they get a view with that inset, right? Because there's windows in there, and then there's like a little deck, right? So you can go
Correct.
out. Is that
Oh, yeah, the
right?
deck, I forgot.
Yeah,
And you could
yeah.
put the little deck on the other side too.
Right,
Mhm.
and then a
Yeah.
little
Right.
rail on both
And a
sides.
little
Yeah.
rail for sure.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I
that
don't
would
want to
look
just have a,
good.
yeah, I
Yeah,
just don't want to have two holes in the roof. We'd want to have something to,
yeah, I agree. So you're gonna probably lose a little space up there, right? If you take out the dormer.
Yeah,
A little bit, but
we can, but I think that's a reasonable trade-off.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll leave it at that. That's a reasonable trade-off.
okay.
I think the two smushies would look great with the.
Yeah,
with the
Yes.
railing. Yep, yep. I think it'll look very nice.
Just so I know,
Okay.
just so I know, we're talking about the same smushy. We talking about the dormer type or the inset type?
The
Inset.
inset, the
Right.
cutout, yeah.
So, I
we,
mean, I'm sort
if
of like
I
opposite.
understand it,
I don't know if two insets. I feel like it's gonna look like as you're passing by, there's just two holes in the roof.
Yeah. But that's where he said he's gonna put a little rail up there too, you know, a little.
Yeah, and the
Right.
railing will add to it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I might have missed the railing part. The railing
Yeah.
would probably cure
Yeah.
that issue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the only thing that's not showing there, and I'd have to think about it a little bit more before I commit, but we'll need a scupper someplace. I got to get the water out of those, so.
right.
We probably
Yeah.
have we'll have a scupper on the front side to let the water out of there.
Yeah.
yeah,
I think that would look good with the little railing. And
Right.
very different. Unique.
Yeah,
I
and I
might
agree
be the
with
odd, I might be the odd person out if you told me I had to choose between what I'm looking at now on the screen or two insets. I would favor this over the two insets.
Hmm.
Just my opinion.
I
I feel like
for-
this
for-
gives it the quirkiness. I feel like two insets makes it look like we're trying to force something that's not quite right. I'd rather have quirkiness over two holes.
Well, this is Pat, and I prefer the balance. I prefer the to have them both balanced. It just, to me, that jumps out a little bit. So that's my preference.
Yeah.
So we are,
Wendy,
Oh.
do you feel the same way?
I do, you know, two dormers would have been okay with me or two insets, but I agree on the balance. I think the insets, especially with the railing, I think that'll really look nice. Yeah.
I do
Right.
too. Yeah.
Really
And
nice.
it's still quirky, Ryan.
It's like a little too quirky at that point.
It's gonna be
Okay.
the only house in the neighborhood with two squishies.
With two holes in the roof, correct.
Oh, it will look great.
All right, if there were no further committee
Well,
comments, are there
ma-
any members of the public wishing to talk about this?
Chair, this is
Erica?
Erica Brown. I do not see anyone at this time. If I am wrong, please let me know.
We
to
had
my neighbors, I would love to hear any opinions on the quirkiness and whether or not we should have two holes or one hole. And I'm neutral, but obviously this has been somewhat of a joint effort. So I don't know, Bill, if you have an opinion, or Bruce.
Okay, so it looks like both Bill and Bruce would like to make a comment. Let me do Bruce first. He is unmuted, and then Bill, I'll get to you right afterwards.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I've been in favor of the plan as previously designed, but I do like the idea of symmetry, and whether it's a dormer or a squishy, I could go either way. But there seems to be a voice for squishiness on the commission.
I think you're voting for symmetry.
I'm voting for symmetry.
There you go.
One way or the other.
Over to you, Bill.
Bill, if you'd just like to unmute yourself.
All right.
There we go.
Good evening.
Hello.
My name is William P. Quinn Jr., and I live at 11 Second Way. While not in a butter, I have frequented gatherings at Frank and Peggy for many years. I watched the July 10th hearing on YouTube, and I have a few comments and suggestions. I heard reference by one member that of the cottages that used to be in the area. This is true, but to start denying applications purely on the size of the proposed home is like shutting the barn door after the horse went down the street and passed away. If you examine the area where we would travel the old Kings Highway back 150 years ago, the only structures that you would see in this neighborhood would be salt works. My favorite author, William P. Quinn, my father, wrote this book on salt works around Cape Cod. There is several distinct pictures showing nothing in this area but salt works and the vats that went along with it. And the one exception to that was a dump over on Meridian. Take a visit to the area and stand in front of number 50 First Way. With the front elevation in hand, I want you to all look left. Perspective is everything. And when you look at the lead-covered missile silo on Sunset, it dwarfs the plans you're considering for Frank and Peggy. While this plan was not approved by the committee, it nonetheless does exist in our neighborhood. There are many other homes in the neighborhood equal in size or close enough, and it would be hard to tell the difference. I do agree with the suggestions for the windows and the doors made for the front elevation. I would also like to suggest that the committee pass on the certificate of appropriateness for number 50 First Way with these minor changes to the windows and doors. I would also suggest that no weight be given to the size of the home, given that we all know there's several others in the area. And I did look it up in my building code real quick. Neither squishy or smushy things are established or defined there. An inset, I would personally rather see 2 dormers and put a second floor deck off of the northern side over top of the second floor deck. That way, they're not going to take too much space away from the design for having the 3rd floor there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
Chair, this is Erica Brown. I just wanted to make sure that all of the members did read and see the multiple letters of support that were submitted for this project.
Right.
Yes.
I sure did.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, there were about 6 of them, so I wanted to make sure that they were all read. Perfect.
Well, I think they did a very nice job size-wise, putting the garage back. That breaks it up and makes it look smaller and in keeping. I think that was the key.
Brilliant. Yep.
I would like to make one comment, if I may. As much as I was disappointed that I didn't get approved, we didn't get approved first time around, I'd make 2 points. One, I think we have a better design. And 2, the outpouring of support from our neighbors is a really nice thing to have.
Good.
We don't see that all the time. It is really nice to see.
It is nice. And they had good suggestions too. They want your house to be beautiful.
Right.
And if I may, Janice, do you agree with your husband on the symmetry?
Janice Richards, I live behind, but our property's about, we're on Second Way. And first of all, I would like to say that I think Frank and Peggy's proposed design is very much in keeping with the character of our neighborhood. And we really support that. And I'm a big fan of symmetry. So, but whether it's squishy or the other kind, I personally don't care as long as there's symmetry because that's my problem. But I think that, but I honestly feel very strongly in support of this application. And I think it's very much in keeping with the tone and the character of the neighborhood. And we would love to see that happen for Frank and Peggy.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your comments. So,
Now, do we have to decide squishy or dormer?
well, let's go back to the owner and
We'll go with this symmetry with the without the dormers, with the opening for the little balconies, primarily because I it is a vertical house and it takes it down. I personally like the quirkiness, but it seems the easier path to have the symmetry, so we'll go with that. And I do want to thank everyone for their comments. And Bill, I appreciate your passion. You're a good friend.
All right. Thank you. And I also think
Mike,
with the
Peggy's saying I should check with you, make sure that it's okay.
Thumbs up. Yeah, yeah, just as long as you're aware of what it'll do to the square footage in that room, because it will obviously reduce it. Yeah, but it's still not insignificant because we've got the dormer coming out the back.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, good, a happy ending.
Very good. Well, we're very pleased that we have our owners who are agreeable to the changes and everything. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
If there's nobody else in the public wishing to speak, perhaps we can have a motion to accept this application.
Right. I need to close the hearing, right, Erica?
Right.
Yep.
The public hearing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. This is Wendy Shuck, and I move to close the public hearing.
Ryan Caholen, I'll second.
All right. And a roll call vote. Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
Ryan Caholen,
Aye.
Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
and Bette McCarthy. Aye. So now we need a motion.
Sure. This is Wendy Shuck, and I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness application for Frank and Margaret Andriakis, 51st Way, Barnstable, map 301, parcel 046, built 1974, as submitted with one modification to make the third floor symmetrical by using 2 insets and removing the dormer. Otherwise, yeah, that's it.
The balcony.
Yes.
All right.
Ryan
Thank
Caholen,
you.
I'll second.
Second, thank you. And a roll call vote. Leslie Wallace,
Yes.
Ryan Caholen,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
and Bette McCarthy. Aye. So
Congrats. Yay.
happy, congratulations,
Great,
and
thank you. Thank you very
happy
much.
new home. And I hope it doesn't take forever to put it up for you.
Oh, Mike said he'll have it done by June.
Oh, Mike.
Well,
Is that read into the record? No. I'm kidding.
Oh, great.
Well,
Thank
good
you.
luck.
I appreciate your help.
yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. My sister is one of your neighbors nearby, so.
Oh.
All right. Very good.
Fantastic.
All right. Thank you very much. Good night now.
Good night, and thank you.
All right.
Oh,
Our
okay.
next application is for John and Robert Lewis trustees, a 58 Second Way, Barnstable, map 319, parcel 002, built in 1973. The installation of interconnected rooftop PV system, 14 panels, a total of 7 panels are visible from a public view and 7 panels on the rear of the home are not visible, which will be flush mounted and black. We need to open a public hearing for this application.
This is Wendy Shuck, and I move to open the public hearing.
Ryan Caholen, I'll second.
Thank you. And a roll call vote. Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Ryan
Yeah.
Caholen,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
and Beth McCarthy, aye. So now is the applicant or the representative available to discuss the installation?
Hi, this is Steve Kelly from Sunrun.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, were you able to hear me?
Yes.
Can you speak
Okay,
up
okay,
a little, please?
Yes, I'll try. This is Steve Kelly from Sunrun, and we're proposing a solar system for this home. Total of 14 panels and 3 arrays. They're black on black panels with a black skirt. And as you can see in the plans, there are some fire setbacks that limit the space that we're allowed to use. And we've tried to maximize the system with minimum sight from the street. And that's it.
Okay. All right. The committee want to make comments regarding this application?
Sure, I can start if you want, Leslie. I mean,
Sure.
so, we know that there are homes with solar panels in that neighborhood. I think the placement of the panels is not all that, will not be all that visible from the road, given that it's kind of on the side roof line. The pitch of the roof line makes it less noticeable. And of course, you've got the panels on the back, which aren't visible from the road. So I don't have any concerns with the proposal.
Great. All right. Thanks, Wendy.
Yep.
Leslie.
Yeah, I feel the same. Not all that visible and yeah, on a angle, so it's not as noticeable.
Right. Ryan.
It's
What
not
are
a
your
designated scenic way, so I think it is what it is.
Okay. And for my comments, I visited the property, and the ones on the back, obviously you can't view, and the pitch on the other part of the house is so narrow, it's be minimally visible. So I don't have any issue with the layout at all. Do we have any members of the public wishing to make comments regarding this?
Okay, this is Erica Brennan. Looks like Bill would like to make a comment on this. Bill, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Thought you'd get rid of me with the last one, huh? No, I just want to vote or express my opinion that I'm in favor of any kind of solar panel other than those ones that are raised funny angles from the roof pitch. I was one of the first ones in the area, and I have 28 panels on my roof. The savings for my wife and I are astronomical. It is wonderful, and what it does for the environment as well. So I hope you guys, and it sounds like you're going to vote this in, and good luck.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Anybody else, Erica?
Sure, this is Erica Brown. I do not see anybody else wishing to speak to this item at this time.
Okay, so we need to close the public hearing then?
Yep, this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to close the public hearing.
Ryan Caholen, I'll second.
All right, and a roll call vote. Leslie Wallace.
Aye.
Ryan Caholen.
Aye.
Wendy Shuck.
Aye.
And Beth McCarthy, aye. So now we need a motion regarding this application.
Okay, this is Wendy Shuck, and I move to approve the certificate of appropriateness application for John and Robert Lewis, trustees, 58 Second Way, Barnstable, map 319, parcel 002, built 1973, as submitted.
Ryan Cahola, I'll second.
Very good. And a roll call vote. Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Ryan Cahola,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
and Beth McCarthy, aye. So I believe that concludes our applications for this evening. We do not have any minor modifications. We don't have any extensions, nothing under other. The minutes are not submitted. So our next meetings will be August 14th and August 28th. So we need a motion to adjourn.
Great. This is Wendy Shuck, and I move to adjourn today's meeting Wednesday, July 24th, 2024.
Ryan Cahola, I'll second.
Thank you. And roll call vote. Leslie Wallace,
Aye.
Ryan Cahola,
Aye.
Wendy Shuck,
Aye.
and Beth McCarthy, aye. So thank you all very much.